This video is for Artifact 6, Standard 3.4 ISTE Criterion 11, Model and Promote Management of Personal Data and Digital Identity and Protect Student Data and Privacy. For these standards, I implemented digital citizenship lessons with my 6th grade students centered around the 9 elements of digital citizenship and digital footprint. My first lesson was titled Understanding the 9 Elements of Digital Citizenship, and the objective was to help students understand the 9 elements of digital citizenship through discussion and concrete examples. The success criteria for this lesson was for students to determine the main idea of each element, for them to match each element to a real-world scenario, and most importantly, to have a focus on digital security and safety and how students can secure a password. I created slides to review the different elements such as digital access and literacy. So you can see those here that were helpful for the students to truly understand what those topics meant. However, I made sure to focus on digital security and privacy. I wanted to be transparent and be a model to my students for digital security. As you can see, I showed them the Gwinnett County guidelines for creating a passphrase and making sure that your passcode was secure. They used the random word combinations motive to ensure that passwords were not easily crackable and that the students didn't use anything that was personally identifying to them. I told my students that yes, it would be easier for me to use passwords such as like my kids' names, birthdays, or anniversary dates. However, those passwords are easily hacked, and oftentimes my digital footprint gives away answers to those if I'm posting about my kids' birthdays or my anniversary dates. I also shared with students that I've had a personal account that has been hacked before, which has led me to use this GCPS guideline for all of my personal accounts as well as my work account. After this, the students each worked to come up with the most random word combinations that they could think of and truly consider if their password was secure. At the end of the lesson, the students did a Nearpod activity, which allowed them to match the different element with a real world situation to ensure they truly understood the different elements of digital citizenship. I also implemented a lesson with my students titled Let's Pledge, a lesson in digital communication. The purpose of the lesson was to make students more aware of their own digital footprint and the importance of choosing how to interact with social media. Of course, the main success criteria for this was for students to be able to identify appropriate and inappropriate ways to interact online and for them to be able to create and sign a pledge about actions they can take to be more digitally responsible. For this, the students watched a Teen Voices video from Common Sense Education about oversharing in their digital footprint. The video was really interesting and they were able to have some meaningful discussions, and I recorded some of their student responses. For example, a student stated that their page is private, but they still need to consider what they're posting about themselves. They need to consider how they show up on social media and the digital footprint that they have, as well as they wanted to consider how the different posts that they have lets people see things about their life that they don't necessarily want to be shown. To ensure a lasting impact from the lesson, we created a class pledge about interacting online, and each student signed the pledge stating that they would consider these things when interacting online. The goal was to ensure that they would act in a safe, ethical, empathetic, and respectful manner when interacting online. This video is for Artifact 6, Standard 3.3, ISTE Criterion 10, Mentor Students in the Safe, Ethical, and Legal Practice with Digital Tools and Protection of Intellectual Rights and Property. For this lesson, I created 2 mini lessons centered around digital ethics in terms of social media and plagiarism. I wanted to make sure that students considered the idea of digital ethics and how ethics can drive how we interact online and with intellectual property. For my first lesson, Digital Ethics in Social Media, the objective was for students to contemplate how their actions align with set digital ethics when interacting online and ensuring that they are not cyberbullying. Students were to consider the choices they have when interacting online as well as the emotions that may be centered around cyberbullying. I really wanted students to be able to consider the different emotions that someone who is being cyberbullied may have and the emotions that someone who is cyberbullying may experience. After talking about digital ethics and its definition, the students watched a video on cyberbullying from Learn and Smile. After the video, students posted their responses to how students who cyberbully may feel and how students who are cyberbullied may feel. The purpose of the activity was to encourage students to have set ethical guidelines of interacting online and thinking of others. I wanted to mentor students and guide their thinking when it came to understanding both sides of cyberbullying and how it goes against practicing good digital ethics. The goal was for them to be able to use this activity to guide their thinking when interacting online, even after this lesson. The second lesson was titled Giving Credit Where Credit is Due. The main objective of this lesson was to make students aware of the importance of citing sources when quoting or paraphrasing the work of others. Of course, I wanted students to be able to understand the definition of plagiarism and be able to identify situations that represent plagiarism versus ones that do not. The students watched a brain pop video and then tested their knowledge by sorting through different situations to consider if they were plagiarism or not. The students also worked together to create their own definition of plagiarism to help ensure that they truly understood the meaning of the word. Lastly, to ensure that they were able to extend their learning beyond the lesson, I wanted to provide the students with a flowchart from the Cheat Sheet Teacher store on Teachers Pay Teachers because it provided a nice visual for helping students determine how to avoid plagiarism. I also provided a screenshot of the terms of use details to show students the guidelines for managing the intellectual property. I really wanted them to understand that even though I got this resource online for free, they did have certain guidelines that I had to follow to ensure that I was adhering to the rules for the intellectual property of this online shop. The tool really helped ensure that they had something to help them avoid plagiarism moving forward. This video is for Artifact 6 Standard 3.1 ISTE Criterion 8, Implement Learning Experiences for Students to be Empathetic and Socially Responsible. For this standard, I implemented 2 mini lessons with my 6th grade students. The first lesson was titled Responding Positively to Hate Speech Online. The main objective was to help students understand the importance of not generating hate speech online and help them respond in positive ways. The success criteria was for them to be able to determine positive ways to respond to hate speech online and for students to determine the importance of promoting anti-hate speech. For this lesson, the students watched the Team Voices video titled Hate Speech Online from Common Sense Education. The video helped us have meaningful discussions about hate speech and how it can affect people online. The video also shared the importance of speaking up when you see hate speech online. After watching the video, the students worked to create their own anti-hate speech posters. So as you can see, I had some students who created a paper copy with different markers to create a poster. Then I had other students who decided to create a digital poster using Canva. We were also able to submit their posters to the Media Center for them to play on the announcements to help promote anti-hate speech. For my second lesson, the title was The Power of Empathy, especially using digital empathy online. The main objective was to make students aware of the importance of navigating the online world with empathy. The success criteria for this was for students to determine ways to respond with respect and empathy for others, and for them to generate responses of empathy on an online platform. To help students consider ways to be empathetic, I played the read aloud for the book A Little Spot of Empathy by Diane Alber. The read aloud was created by Mumi Read Alouds and posted to YouTube. The book helped the students consider the different perspectives and emotions involved when responding with empathy. It was important that the students practice responding on an online platform. However, I wanted to provide them with a framework for responding online. To help them, I provided them with this Think framework to help them consider what they were posting online and how they were responding to others. The framework has them take a moment to consider what they are responding before they respond, to consider is that response helpful, how it will impact others, is it necessary, and most importantly, is it kind? Using the framework, the students were able to practice responding to different online posts using the Padlet platform. You can see the students provided helpful tips such as recommendations for anime, positive affirmations about doing better on the next test, as well as making friends. I was really excited to provide my students with a platform that resembled social media to truly give them practice implementing different guidelines to truly be a good digital citizen and navigate the digital world with empathy and respect.